Rain hammered the empty streets as Ava stepped into the rideshare. The city lights had vanished, another rolling blackout. She slid into the back seat, glancing at the driver, a man with tired eyes and a nervous twitch. Silence pressed in, broken only by the windshield wiper's frantic beat. As they drove, Ava's phone flickered, then died. The driver's GPS went dark too. "Lost power," he muttered, voice tight. They missed a turn, entering a maze of unfamiliar roads. Ava's heart raced. Shadows stretched across the dashboard, twisting into shapes she couldn't name. "We'll be fine," the driver assured, gripping the wheel, but his voice trembled. Ava spotted a police cruiser, its lights off, parked ahead. "Let's ask for help," she suggested, her hand on the door handle. The driver hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. They approached, but the cruiser was empty, doors ajar, the silence thick and unnatural. A chill crept up Ava's spine. Suddenly, her driver whispered, "Someone's been following us." In the rearview mirror, headlights flickered on in the darkness, drawing closer with slow, deliberate intent. Ava and the driver exchanged a look. Strangers, now bound by fear and a shared secret neither dared speak aloud. The sun blazed high above the endless dunes, painting everything in molten gold. Two figures stood opposite each other, boots sinking into the cracked earth, eyes locked in a silent contest. Clara wiped sweat from her brow, her gaze steady on the stranger who mirrored her every move. They had crossed paths at the only well for miles, neither willing to yield an inch. The silence between them sizzled, broken only by the distant cry of a hawk circling overhead. Each traveler gripped a battered canteen, precious water sloshing inside, a lifeline in the unforgiving heat. A tumbleweed rolled by, as if urging them to act. Clara's voice finally split the heavy air. "How far you headed?" The stranger's lips curled into a wry smile. "Farther than you, I reckon." Tension thickened, the sun casting long shadows behind them. Then, with a sudden motion, Clara tossed her canteen into the air. The stranger caught it, startled by the unexpected gesture. Laughter echoed across the sand, breaking the tension like a cool breeze. "Share the water, share the road," Clara said, extending her hand in truce. The stranger hesitated, then slowly shook it. Together, they sipped from the same canteen, the duel dissolved by the desert's unspoken rule. Survival favors those who unite, not those who stand alone. At the stroke of midnight, the tiny bakery on Willow Lane shimmered with secrets. Flour dust danced in the moonlight, but something was amiss. Miss Poppy's prized moonberry tarts had vanished without a trace. Determined to catch the culprit, she whispered softly to her enchanted pastries, each baked with a touch of moonlit dew and a sprinkle of magic. As the clock chimed 12, her cinnamon swirls twirled off their trays, leaving behind a trail of glittering crumbs that sparkled faintly in the dark. The honey buns hopped after them, their sugar glaze shimmering like tiny stars. Together, the pastries followed a faint, sticky path winding out the back door and into the garden, where a sly raccoon was caught red-pawed, crumbs clinging stubbornly to its whiskers. The pastries circled the thief, their warm, sweet aroma wrapping around it like a gentle lullaby, lulling the raccoon into a peaceful nap. Miss Poppy arrived just in time, smiling as she rewarded her brave pastries with a sprinkle of stardust, then carefully tucked the sleepy raccoon into a cozy basket lined with soft cloth. By dawn, the bakery's treats were safe once more, and every customer who came in that morning wondered why their morning buns sparkled just a little brighter than usual. Under the silver gaze of the moon, the museum slumbered, except for a clever cat named Marlowe and a trio of nimble mice. Marlowe prowled the marble floors, eyes sharp, whiskers twitching. The mice, led by daring Pip, tiptoed past priceless vases and ancient scrolls, their goal glinting in the moonlight, a golden cheese sculpture atop a pedestal. As night guards dozed, Marlowe feigned a yawn, distracting them just long enough for Pip's crew to shimmy up the display. With a silent cheer, they claimed their prize and vanished, leaving only paw prints and a purr in the shadows. In the hush of the city library, Anna traced her finger along the spines of old novels, searching for something she couldn't name. As she reached for a worn copy of Wuthering Heights, a folded scrap of paper fluttered to the floor. Curious, she picked it up and opened it carefully. "What's your favorite story?" It read in neat, careful handwriting. Her heart skipped a beat, and a small smile spread across her face. She scribbled her answer, Pride and Prejudice, and tucked the note back between the pages. The next day, a reply awaited her. "Meet me in the poetry section at 3. She hesitated, nerves fluttering, then found herself drifting toward the poetry shelves as the clock struck 3. A young man with tousled hair stood there, holding a book of Neruda poems. He looked up, eyes warm and uncertain. "I'm glad you answered," he said softly. They exchanged shy smiles, words tumbling out about favorite books, secret dreams, and quiet hopes. As sunlight filtered through stained glass, the library's quiet corners echoed with new laughter. Between the shelves, two strangers discovered a world written just for them, one note at a time. At the edge of a sleeping town stood the Midnight Bakery, its windows glowing soft gold when all others were dark. Each night, old Mara kneaded dough beneath flickering lanterns, her hands gentle and sure. But this was no ordinary bread. As she worked, the dough began to murmur, soft, flowery whispers curling around her ears like a secret breeze. The voices were never hers to keep. They belonged to the town itself. "Evelyn hides a letter beneath the roses in her garden," one loaf sighed. Another confessed, "Jonas dreams of the sea, though he's never seen it with his own eyes." Mara listened closely, shaping each confession into a perfect round, her fingers tracing the stories as if weaving them into the crust. At dawn, villagers queued for her bread, drawn by hunger and something deeper, something unspoken. Each bite brought a flicker of memory or an unexplained comfort, as if the bread knew exactly what their hearts needed to heal or remember. Mara never revealed what she heard. She simply baked, night after night, her kitchen alive with secrets, her bread nourishing more than just the body. In the hush before sunrise, she smiled quietly, knowing every loaf carried a little piece of the town's soul, a silent promise that no secret would ever be truly lost. Inside a dusty attic, perched atop a forgotten shelf, sat a clockwork mouse with silver whiskers and copper paws. Each morning, sunlight crept through the window, casting golden rays over the mouse's polished back. With every glimmer, the mouse imagined the world below, a vast wooden floor waiting to be explored, filled with hidden corners and secret paths. Yet, it could only move when someone turned the tiny brass key in its side. Days blurred together, filled with longing and stillness, as the mouse dreamed of motion and adventure beyond its shelf. One evening, as the moon shone bright and stars twinkled softly, a gentle breeze nudged the window open. The sound of distant laughter drifted in, and the mouse felt a tickle of hope stir within its tiny chest. Suddenly, the shelf trembled. The key, nudged loose by the wind, spun with a soft click. Gears whirred to life inside the mouse's body. The mouse tumbled to the floor, landing nimbly on its feet. For the first time, it zipped across the boards, tail spinning, heart racing with excitement. It darted through moonbeams and shadows, savoring the freedom of motion it had longed for. When the key finally wound down, the mouse rested, joyful and content. It had tasted the wonder of movement, and in that fleeting moment, its dream had come true. Deep in the heart of an ancient forest, trees stood rooted in silence, their branches tangled like old friends sharing secrets. One restless summer, the earth grew thirsty, and the leaves drooped in longing for rain's cool touch. As dusk fell, a gentle breeze tiptoed through the grove, carrying a secret only the forest could understand. The oldest oak, wise and weathered, quivered its leaves, crafting a low, trembling hum that rippled through the air. Nearby birches, eager to join, shivered their slender trunks, echoing the sound with delicate whispers. Soon, every tree, elm, pine, maple, joined in, weaving a tapestry of gentle vibrations that danced like invisible threads. The air trembled with their harmony, a sound that fluttered like wings unseen, calling out to the sky. High above, clouds wandered aimlessly until they heard the forest's urgent plea. Drawn by the woodland's mysterious call, the clouds gathered, thickening and swirling with purpose. With a rumble of approval, they opened, letting cool rain tumble down, soaking the grateful earth and quenching its thirst. The trees swayed in quiet triumph, their song fading as the last drop fell, their secret safe and waiting until the next time the world thirsted for life. Midnight cloaked Silent Street in a thick, silvery fog. Streetlights flickered, casting long shadows on crumbling stone and broken glass. No footsteps echoed here. The city had been abandoned for years, swallowed by silence and dust. Yet as the clock tower struck 12, a low, haunting hum began to fill the air. It drifted from alley to alley, weaving between shattered windows and rusted lampposts, wrapping the empty streets in an eerie melody. The sound was neither wind nor machine. It was almost human, gentle yet persistent, like a lullaby from a forgotten time. Clara, drawn by an irresistible curiosity, tiptoed through the forgotten square, her breath visible in the cold night air. She paused beneath the old theater's faded marquee, where the humming grew louder, swirling around her like an invisible embrace. Her heart pounded as she followed the melody into the theater's grand lobby, where dust motes danced in the beam of her flashlight. On the stage, a single wooden chair faced the empty seats, bathed in pale moonlight. The humming stopped abruptly. Silence pressed in, thick and heavy. Then, from somewhere deep within the theater's shadows, a voice whispered her name, soft as the melody itself. Clara spun around, a shiver racing down her spine, realizing she was not alone in the silent city. In the heart of the misty woods, where the trees whispered secrets to the wind, an old woman named Marta tended to a grove of glowing lanterns hidden beneath tangled branches. Each lantern hung from a crooked limb, casting soft, shimmering light that danced on the mossy ground and flickered like tiny stars caught in the forest's embrace. Villagers spoke of her in hushed tones, calling her the Lantern Keeper, but none dared approach after sunset, fearing the unknown magic she guarded. Marta's hands, though wrinkled and worn by time, moved with careful precision as she polished each lantern, her eyes reflecting their curious, shifting colors. Every night, she whispered a different name into the glass, and the lantern would pulse gently, as if alive with a heartbeat. Some said the lights were lost hopes. Others believed they were dreams waiting to be found. Marta knew the truth. Each lantern held a memory, rescued from the shadows where it might have been forgotten forever. If a traveler wandered too close, she would offer them a lantern and a choice, to remember or to forget. Most chose to walk away, content with their burdens, unwilling to face what lay within. But once, a child accepted, and as the lantern flickered warmly in his hands, his face lit with wonder and awe, and the woods grew a little brighter, as if the light had found a new home. In the heart of a quiet village, old Mr. Wen shaped lanterns beneath flickering candlelight. His gnarled hands crafted delicate frames, each finished with a gentle brush of crimson and gold. Tonight, he whispered a wish into his final lantern, for his village to remember joy and hope once more. As dusk settled, he carefully hung the lantern high above the village square. One by one, villagers gathered, drawn by its warm, inviting glow. Children laughed and chased the lantern's dancing shadows, while elders sat nearby, recalling laughter and celebrations long forgotten. Suddenly, the lantern sparked and burst into shimmering lights that drifted softly over every rooftop and winding street. Wherever the lights touched, gardens bloomed with vibrant flowers, laughter echoed through the air, and memories of old festivals filled every corner. For the first time in many years, the village felt truly alive again. As dawn approached, the lantern's magic slowly faded, but the warmth it left lingered in every heart. Mr. Wen smiled quietly, content. His wish had come true. From that night on, the village celebrated with lanterns each year, never forgetting the magic one simple wish had brought them all. The clock in the old library struck 12. Evelyn, the night librarian, was shelving the last cart when a sudden thud echoed through the empty aisles. She spun around, heart pounding in her chest. A book slid across the floor on its own, coming to a stop at her feet. Its cover, once a deep blue, was now warped and damp, as if soaked in something dark. She knelt down, fingertips trembling, and carefully flipped it open. Every page was drenched, the ink running in thick crimson rivulets. The letters bled together, twisting and writhing into shapes that seemed almost alive. She recoiled as a single drop of red fell onto her hand, warm and fresh. Inside, the checkout card bore no name, only a date. August 29th, the very day she had started her job. Evelyn's eyes darted to the shelves, searching for answers, but the book's title was missing, erased as if it had never existed. The library lights flickered erratically. Shadows stretched and crept closer, their long fingers reaching over the aisles. The heavy doors groaned, then slammed shut, locking with a final echoing click. Clutching the book tightly, she felt its pulse sync with her own heartbeat. Alone, surrounded by silent shelves and unread stories, Evelyn realized the library always knew who was next to return. The clock in the station struck midnight as Clara frantically searched her pockets. Her train was moments from departing, but her ticket had vanished. She retraced her steps along the shadowy platform, heart pounding with growing panic. Suddenly, a folded slip of paper fluttered from beneath a bench, caught by the cold night breeze. Clara snatched it up, only to find it wasn't hers. A different name was scrawled on it in hurried handwriting. Glancing around, she spotted a man staring anxiously at the ground nearby. Their eyes met, and he hurried over, voice low and urgent. "That's mine," he whispered, relief flooding his face. In return, he handed her a small silver key, its surface worn smooth by time. "Look inside locker 17, he instructed. Unsure but curious, Clara obeyed. Inside, she found her lost ticket, along with an old, faded photograph of a train conductor and a child smiling warmly. The man reappeared, smiling gently. "You helped me, and I helped you. Some journeys require more than just a ticket." As the midnight train whistled in the distance, Clara boarded, clutching her ticket and the photograph tightly, feeling as if her adventure had only just begun. All because of a simple twist of fate. In the heart of the city stood the painted clock, a grand mural sprawling across an old brick wall. By day it was a kaleidoscope of colors, swirling patterns, forgotten faces, and rooftops twisting into the sky. But as midnight struck, the mural shimmered to life. Figures peeled away from the paint, stepping onto the cobblestone street, their movements fluid and silent, as if drawn by an unseen hand. The city's founders waltzed beside modern-day children, while horse-drawn carriages and bicycles glided past each other in perfect harmony. Scenes unfolded, a baker sharing bread during a fierce storm, two lovers meeting under the soft glow of lantern light, a parade of lanterns celebrating the end of a long-lost war. The mural's hands swept slowly, synchronizing with the heartbeat of the city itself. Only insomniacs, street sweepers, and the occasional stray cat bore witness to these nightly spectacles. As dawn crept in, colors faded, stories retreated, and the figures melted back into the wall, waiting patiently for night to come again. The city, ever-changing and restless, found its memory preserved in brushstrokes and shadows, a living chronicle painted in time. Emma's fingers trembled as she carefully slid the brittle parchment from the narrow crack in the library's ancient bookshelf. Faded ink traced winding paths, a compass rose, and a cryptic riddle. Where sunlight kisses stone, fortune waits alone. Her curiosity flared like a spark in the quiet room. She followed the map's clues through the sleepy village, deciphering familiar landmarks. The weathered fountain, the twisted oak, the lonely statue standing in the square. Each step brought her closer to the secret. As dusk painted the sky in shades of gold and amber, Emma reached the crumbling wall behind the old chapel. The last clue pointed to a stone with a sun carved upon it. She searched carefully, heart pounding with excitement, until her hand brushed the rough symbol hidden among the moss. Digging beneath, her fingers struck the edge of a wooden box. Inside, she found ancient coins, a delicate locket, and a faded letter. The letter spoke of hope, dreams, and the promise of adventure for anyone bold enough to seek it. Emma smiled, realizing the true treasure was not gold, but the thrill of discovery and the stories waiting to be lived. She tucked the locket into her pocket, feeling ready for whatever mysteries tomorrow might bring. Underneath a sweeping willow at the edge of the old village, a boy named Eli wandered alone. His feet shuffled through the grass, eyes cast downward, heart heavy with longing for a friend. The willow stood tall, branches trailing like gentle arms, casting a cool, dappled shade over the soft earth. Eli sat beneath it, hugging his knees tightly, not daring to speak his wish aloud. Instead, he closed his eyes and let his thoughts drift upward through the shimmering leaves. The willow listened. Its roots hummed softly beneath the soil, ancient and wise beyond measure. A gentle breeze stirred, and the branches dipped lower, brushing against Eli's shoulder, warm, reassuring. He looked up, startled, as a single leaf floated down, landing softly in his open palm. It pulsed with a gentle, golden glow. In that moment, Eli felt the loneliness ease, replaced by a quiet, comforting warmth. He smiled and whispered, "Thank you," to the tree. Every day thereafter, Eli returned to the willow. Birds gathered in the branches, rabbits hopped close to his feet, and laughter echoed beneath the willow's shelter. The tree had granted his wish, not with words, but with the gift of belonging and friendship found in nature's embrace. 8-year-old Max wandered the dusty attic, searching for hidden treasures among old boxes and forgotten memories. Suddenly, a strange, gleaming watch caught his eye, nestled inside a cracked wooden chest. Its face shimmered with swirling colors that seemed to dance and shift. Curious and excited, Max carefully slipped the watch onto his wrist. Instantly, soft gears whirred and clicked, and the attic around him began to blur and fade away. When the world settled, Max blinked in surprise. He was standing in a dense, lush jungle, vibrant birds squawking loudly overhead. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath his feet. From behind a giant fern, a towering triceratops lumbered out, calmly munching on thick leaves. Max's heart pounded with a mix of excitement and fear. He ducked quickly as a dragonfly the size of his hand zipped past his face. Then, a distant, terrifying roar echoed through the trees. Max spun around to see a massive Tyrannosaurus Rex stomping closer, its fierce eyes locked on him. Panicked, Max fumbled with the watch, pressing every button he could find. Nothing happened. The T-Rex's heavy footsteps thundered nearer. At the very last second, Max pressed the crown, and the world spun wildly. Moments later, he landed back in the attic, heart racing, the watch now silent and still. Max stared at it in awe, wondering where and when it might take him next.
Listen up, wild ones. You want to set the world on fire, but you're clutching a damn fire extinguisher. Playing safe as the silent assassin of every maverick. You weren't born to tiptoe through life. apologizing for the size of your dreams, or shrinking to fit someone else's mold. Mavericks don't ask for permission. They demand a front row seat at the demolition derby of the status quo. The comfort zone is a padded cell, and every minute you spend there is a minute you're not unleashing hell on mediocrity. The universe doesn't reward the cautious. It salutes the maniacs who light gasoline dreams and sprint through the flames with reckless abandon. Forget waiting for a sign. You are the sign. The world needs your audacity, not your obedience. So, rip up the rulebook, set fire to your plan B, and make your first move so big it terrifies your future self. Playing safe? That's just dying in slow motion. You want legacy? Ignite chaos. You want impact? Make the leap. History remembers the ones who risked incineration to become legends. Stop whispering your potential, shout it from the rooftops, and watch the world catch fire. Like, comment, and subscribe for more motivational content. Let's ignite the spark within and unleash our full potential.